guys, it's just me.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, got you there. Find out what this has to do with Ford City, because Education Today starts now.
Hello, welcome to Education Today. I'm Emily Buriak.
And I'm Lauren Wyant from Ford City High School. Full of history, stories, and even world-famous businesses, one small town on the banks of the Allegheny River has come to be very much a place of the past. Many years ago, the town of Ford City was a booming business center, home to many immigrants in search of jobs. While in those days it seemed to be that everyone wished to live in a thriving Ford City, today it appears that a good majority of the people are unfortunately moving away in search of careers and futures elsewhere.
Many of those currently living in the area are unaware of the town's successful, popular past. Our production team decided to take a look at Ford City's history and changes from past to present. This program will give us the opportunity to allow older viewers to keep the history of the town alive and introduce to younger viewers a side of Ford City that reflects on a heritage rich in families and faith and happy times.
Our guest today is Mrs. Stacy Klukin, former physical education teacher at Ford City High School and current teacher at Elderton High School. It seems appropriate to take a flashback look at Ford City through the eyes of someone who has been a resident of the area for some time now, and someone who has contributed greatly to improving and maintaining the community and its traditions.
Welcome and thank you for sharing your memories and reflections of Ford City. You are a rarity in this day of people moving all over the country and leaving small town childhood homes for big city adventures. What has kept you in this area?
The things that have kept me in this area are my family, my friends, and it's a great place to live. Due to the fact that we are on the beautiful Allegheny and it's just settled in the rolling hills of Pennsylvania, the schools are strong academically, and we have to find out that that's the basics for people to come into your area. Beautification is also a nice way that I love to live here. Who would not want to be in this area? We have every season. We have winter, spring, summer, and fall. Not too many places have that area like that. And with the snow, the rain, and well, sunshine now, but today it's just a gorgeous day out there, and I love living in Ford City, Pennsylvania, because of the strong heritage, as you mentioned before.
Right. Do you feel that change must occur in order for residents to continue living in Ford City or even to attract newcomers?
Yes, change does take place, and it's slow sometimes, but our area is good for that. We have a slow and steady change. We're making a lot of changes on our local trails. In our school district, we do have a lot of changes occurring, and now we have a lot of companies that may be attracted here because we do have some open areas in our old PPG field, and maybe over in North Point too. So hopefully we can get some newcomers to get into our town.
We are aware of some of the changes that you have personally brought to the community. So could you describe some of the recent programs and activities that you have been involved in helping Ford City's image?
Recently, as we had done on the Fit Trail, which is, a big aspect, that was a $10,000 project, 300 volunteer hours with local doctors, teachers, gas workers, moms and dads that helped locally put the Fit Trail on the trail. And it was just a great thing for our community to have, because we are lacking a weight room in our high school, so we thought that it would be a great thing to put on the trail for our students to use. Push-up, sit-up stations, as you girls know, when we did it last year, and probably this year with your new instructor. So those kind of things are good to motivate some of the kids to get out there and move. And I see so many people using the trail daily, little kids, their parents, I mean, you know, that's exciting to see.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is really cool. It's great to see people going out of their way, like you, to make a difference. What gave you the initiative to build the exercise stations along the trail, and how did you get such motivation?
Well, my motivation came from my father, Stanley Gladishevsky. He's an awesome man. He's still around, and I get advice from him. My dad was Parks and Recreation at Fort City Borough when he was on council over 30-some years ago. So I used to be working with him all the time when he did projects and recreation projects. And then being on the Parks and Recreation Committee at Fort City Borough, I had a great crew. Dr. Alexak, Dr. Alexak's wife helped out, Bill Alexak, the teacher, retired, Doug Anthony, and so many other people, Elisa Burke. So we had a core group, and that's the key, having a good group of people to work with, cooperating together, and communicating.
Yeah, that is what you mean. So is there any chance that the community will be seeing more of your generous contributions in the future?
Yes. As I said, we have a lot of projects going. We're going to be working with the Cancer Society in Armstrong County and the local garden group, which is awesome, which is another teacher, Mr. Simmons, his wife, and Mr. Brewer. And they are awesome to work with. Alyssa Burke's on there. We have Lynn Ramage, another person that just is outstanding, because we have master gardeners, and those people are master gardeners help out with Penn State Cooperative Extension, and we're getting more and more things done. So with the cancer group and our garden club, we're going to have some nice things put on the trail, possibly memorial trees and honor trees or benches. So we're going to have a lot more things going. Also, if Dr. Alexak and his wife help put this last grant together for the Fit Trail. And when you receive a grant, you have to match a grant. So Dr. Alexak went out there and really hustled to get some funding from the Armstrong County Recreation, which was the original grant, and then the hospital gave us another matching grant, plus some general donations from the public and some of the local companies nearby too. So we have so many people to thank, and my father is one in establishing hard work ethic.
Wow, that's awesome. I can't wait to see. As a resident of Ford City, what other changes have you noticed about the town over time? And in your opinion, how are these changes beneficial to the community?
Well, we benefit a lot from having Ford Street finally finished with the new pavement. We have a sewer project that's in disarray of our town right now, but it'll get cleaned up, and when things do that way, you have to, change, as I said, was good, but people have to grin and bear a little bit of the sewer project, and then maybe the reclamation will be to have beautiful trees planted along our streets of Fort City. And you know, more trees you have, the more oxygen and the more greener we are, right?
Right.
Cool. Our production team made a special visit to meet with lifetime Fort City resident, elementary school teacher in the Armstrong School District, and last but not least, author of the documentary book Around Fort City, Mr. William Alexak.
Hi, I'm Lauren Wyatt from Education Today, and I'm here today with Mr. Alexak. He's the author of the book Around Fort City, and he's going to tell us a little bit more, answer a couple questions for us. How are you today?
Great.
That's great. Are you ready to answer some questions?
I sure am.
All right, so what inspired you to write this book?
Well, like almost everybody, we always talk about what it was like when we were young. And there were so many stories that came out about Fort City. Then I started collecting pictures and postcards about Fort City, and as more and more people told me that they had these postcards to give me, they started telling me stories, which really, really inspired me. And someone said, you ought to do a book. And because of the stories that my dad told me about Fort City, my neighbors who worked in PPG a long time ago, they told us, it was a natural that we needed to share what Fort City used to be like.
Okay, so how long have you lived in Fort City?
Well, I've lived in Fort City all my life. I was born in 1947, and I've been here all my life, except when I went to college.
What do you think our viewers would find most surprising or interesting about Ford City?
Well, of course it depends on who the viewers are.
Right.
The older people know what Ford City was like, and they know all the stories about it, but the younger people don't realize that at one time we had 14 churches, we had 8 hotels, we had 4 car dealerships in Ford City, and what I always think of as the essence of Ford City is we had 21 mom and pop stores, little stores located in the neighborhoods where people did their business.
Wow, I seriously never knew that either. That's surprising to me, actually.
What's interesting, if you go through Ford City, you'll notice that on almost every block there's a certain house that maybe sticks out farther or just looks different from all the other houses. And in many cases, those are the remains of what used to be the stores.
Wow, that's really cool.
Holy Trinity was a Roman Catholic church. It was finished building in 1965. It's located on the opposite side of 10th Street. Holy Trinity closed down in 2002 and was consolidated with other Catholic churches in Ford City. This former church is now used by Twist and Shout Gymnastics Academy. Phillips Chapel was a Christian Methodist Episcopal church. It is shut down in recent years and consolidated with the Second Baptist Church. It's now a photo studio for learner photography.
What do you think has changed most over the years since you've been here?
Well, obviously with the closing down of PPG, we've lost a lot of our population. We've lost a lot of our stores that used to take care of everybody. So we've sort of gone backwards in time. It's a shame because Ford City used to have so much, and now we don't have a whole lot because of, I guess it's almost like an anti-industrial revolution.
Yeah, from reading your book, it seems a lot smaller now, just not as many people.
Absolutely.
Pittsburgh Plate Glass, or PPG, was founded by John Baptiste Ford and John Pitcairn. It opened its doors in 1887. It consisted of 2 works, Works 4 and 5. In its early years, it employed 2,000 men. The population of Ford City was almost 6,000, so about a third worked at PPG. All the workers passed through a tunnel on 3rd Avenue and 9th Street under the train tracks to get into PPG every day. It expanded to over 20 acres and was now one of the largest plate glass factories in the world. By 1915, the U.S. was producing 60 million square feet of plate glass per year, and PPG was the largest manufacturer. Plate glass was rolled into shapes rather than being blown. Most of the population in Ford City was foreign-born, leaving them unskilled. Ford City PPG workers drew upon the same pool of Southern and Eastern European immigrants' labor. PPG ended all operations in 1991 and closed the doors in 1993. The main building remains abandoned. Some of the smaller buildings were converted to businesses such as Nature's Blend and KPM.
Okay, so in your book, we read about Lenape Park, which we had no idea about. Could you please tell us a little bit more about it?
Yeah, Lenape Park was located on Route 66, and if you could picture where Hobson Drive comes onto Route 66 from Ford Cliff, from about there to Appleby Manor Church, there's a section of housing on the left side of the highway that was called Lenape Park. And it went from about 1903 to 1923. And it had a pavilion, it had merry-go-round, it had a dance floor, it had swings, and mainly it was a picnic type area. And a lot of the people don't realize that if you go down into Roston, and as soon as you go into the entrance of Roston, you'll notice that there's sort of like a path that goes along the side of the hill until you come to Tub Mill Run. And when you get up to Tub Mill Run, it bears to the left and goes the whole way up into Ford Cliff. And that used to be trolley tracks. Believe it or not.
Up to the park.
Up into the park, yeah.
That's really
And
cool.
the trolley came from Katanning through Ford City on 4th Avenue, the whole way up there, and it was just probably one of the main attractions back in those days. But as time went on, it just went into its demise, and now it's houses. But I
really
read one
interesting.
time in one of the old newspapers that on the 4th of July in, I think it was 1907, the 4th of July weekend, they estimated they had over 10,000 visitors to Lenape Park. And that's hard to imagine.
That's crazy.
And, they probably, in those days, they probably came from Katanning and Rural Valley and Leechburg and all the different places to
So
go.
it was very well known and popular
was,
back
yeah.
in the day.
Mhm.
That's really interesting. So Ford Street is one of the most well-known streets in Ford City. Obviously, Ford Street, Ford City. And it's changed a lot even through my lifetime. How has it changed throughout yours?
Well, Ford Street used to be just a bustling place at one time. I can remember back when I was younger, and I was born in 1947, so I grew up in my main years were the late 50s, early 60s, graduated from high school in 65. And I can remember when my dad, on Friday night, Ford City was open on Friday night. Things were a lot different then. Now we have stores open all the time. Back then, stores weren't open on Sundays. But Friday night was when Ford City stayed open until 9 o'clock. And my dad and his friends, when they'd go down Ford Street, they'd wear a shirt and tie because it was a big deal going down there. And we had at least 3 men's stores that I can remember. We had women's stores there. We had 2 jewelry stores. We had a big GC Murphy 5 and 10, which is where all the kids wanted to go to. But one of the things I mentioned in my book was my grandparents grew up in Ford City, never had a car, didn't need a car because we had everything that we needed.
Everything's in
Ford
walking
City.
distance.
We had restaurants, we had just the banks, everything was right there. And it was a typical, back in those days, a typical main street that served all of our needs. Now, it's hard to believe that.
Yeah, there doesn't
you
seem
walk
to be
through
that
there,
much.
And one of my fond memories is when the workers came out of PPG there at 9th Street out of the tunnel, usually around 4 o'clock in the evening, Ford Street was just loaded with people,
So a lot more, I don't know, everyone just
Well, it was
interacted all the
it was a
time.
business district. It was
Right.
that the shop owners, the merchants, made a great living back in those days.
That's hard to believe. That's really cool.
Ford Street was named after the town's founder, John B. Ford. It was established around 1899. Buildings located on this street in the early 1900s include the Screen Hotel, W.M. West Drug Store, Qualls Ladies Shop, and many other small businesses. By the mid-1900s, many new stores were added to meet the needs of the citizens of Ford City. These include Friedland's Keystone Shoes, Fitzgerald's Jewelers, Greenbaum's Furniture Store, Apple's Men's Clothing, Walter H. Bowser Jewelers, Space's Fruit Market, and Kling & Smith Drug Store. Today, Ford Street is not near as booming as it used to be. However, it has been reconstructed and is still a highly recognized area in Ford City.
Well, thank you for being with us today. You were very helpful. You told me a lot of stuff that I didn't know. And this book, Around Ford City, is packed full of so much more information. If you want to check that out, you can find that online. You can find it at Kling & Smith's in Ford City. But it's a really interesting book, and I'm gonna have to read more about it myself. So again, thank you so much for being with us.
You're welcome.
All right, back to you guys.
Before I came to IUP, I had no idea what college would be like or what role I would play or where I'd be in the future. But when I came to IUP, everything changed. I met people who really made me feel like I belonged. I had great classes at a great nationally ranked university. Hi, my name's Megan Miller. I'm a fine arts major, and this is my university.
We're back with Education Today. Along with the history of Ford City comes rumors and stories of a paranormal presence. especially in Ford City High School. Our production team has also met with longtime member of the maintenance staff at Ford City, Evan Punchard, and current teacher at Ford City alumnus, Mrs. Catherine Gibbon. Don't believe in apparitions? Let's take a look to see what our guests had to say.
Hi, I'm Geraldine Lloyd, reporting from S7E34, and I'm here with Catherine Gibbons today, who's a teacher at Fort City High School. Now, Ms. Gibbons, did you attend Fort City High School?
I did, Geraldine. I am a Ford City girl, proud.
When did you start teaching at Fort City?
This is my first year as a faculty member at Ford City High School.
Did anything abnormal happen to you since you've started?
Of course. Being an adult and being that I work here, and sometimes I work late hours to try to get everything accomplished that I need to get accomplished in an evening, I found myself alone in the building at nighttime doing various odds and ends. And of course, things happen that could not be explained. I like to attribute these things to the human psyche. When we listen to folklore and we're enveloped in the folklore of a community, those stories tend to stick with us, and our brain tries to make the most logical assumption. And a logical assumption for most is if something happens that can't be explained, they automatically think that it is a spirit or an apparition haunting.
What did you do whenever you experienced these apparitions?
Well, first, I moved as quickly as I could. I realized it was time to go home. But then I kept thinking more and more, are there ghosts at Ford City High School, or am I entrenched so much in the history of this place, because I am a born and raised native of Ford City. And in all honesty, you can't say that Ford City High School is haunted, and you can't say that Ford City High School is not haunted. What you can say is sometimes things happen that my brain can't explain.
Do you know if the school was actually used as part of a morgue at one point?
There are several books written on the history of Ford City, and I believe it is mentioned in one of them that Ford City High School was used as a morgue.
Do you believe that is the reason why so many of these ghost stories have came about?
I think so. I think people are afraid of sharing space with things that are abnormal, and we usually don't hear of a former morgue being used as a place where living people go about their day.
Okay, well, thank you for helping us out today, Ms. Gibbons.
Not a problem, Geraldine. Thank you for speaking with me.
Thank you. Hi, I'm Geraldine Lloyd, reporting for S7E34. I'm here today with Evan, who is a janitor at Fort City High School. How long did you work at Fort City High School?
23 years.
Did you ever experience any paranormal activity while you were at the high school?
I had heard some noises, and especially on weekends when there was no one else in the building that I knew of.
What did some of these noises sound like?
Okay, I would hear. I would be on the first floor, and I would hear doors slamming. I would. One time I thought I heard someone up in the copier room with the copier running, and there was no one up there. I ran around the school checking for coaches and couldn't find anybody. And also, years ago, there used to be wooden floors, and you would hear a lot of noises and just a lot of sounded like steps and everything.
There's rumors that Fort City High School used to be a morgue. Do you think this is partly why there's paranormal activity?
Possible.
Is there anything specific you remember from working there?
Yes. Sometimes in the evening or when there was no one in the building, some TVs would come on by themselves, really loud.
That'd be
And
creepy.
yeah, and there was no explanation why.
There's rumors of a secretary that still works there, even though she's not alive anymore. Do you have anything about that?
We did have one that worked there until she was 81 years old. I never saw her after that, but she was there for many, many years, like about 40-some years.
So maybe those ones aren't true, or maybe they aren't. Which part of the school do you think is the most haunted?
Okay, usually when I was on the basement in the first floor, it was always seemed to be like the on the second floor. Is when I would hear the noises. When I was on the second floor, I never heard the noises. It was always when I was on the first floor, and I always heard the noises. Not down on that floor, but right up above me.
Oh, it's creepy.
Yes.
Do you think these spirits are harmful in any way?
No. I never felt threatened, although it was, you did wonder where these noises would be coming from. Who was slamming doors? Who would be running the copier? Who would be turning on the TV?
Do you think the new renovations that they're planning to do will anger the spirits or make new ones come?
It probably wouldn't anger them as long as there wasn't too much done to the building, I would say.
Is there anything else you'd like to add?
There was just a lot of unexplained noises that we've heard over the years. We never really saw anyone, and especially they never happened during the day. It was always at night.
That's kind of creepy, but I'm Jeremy Lloyd with S7E34.
As a former teacher at Ford City High School, have you ever experienced anything paranormal or maybe noticed something that could not be explained?
Well, working very late at night, when I was in charge of the wonderful newspaper we put out in the mid-2000s, we had a computer crash and ate all the newspaper. So, Mr. Morandini and I had stayed till 3 o'clock in the morning working on the newspaper, and let me tell you, there was creaking of the floors.
Ooh, that's
yes,
scary.
Yeah, some parts of the floors, it felt like they were creaking. I think there's changes in the floor, but there was creaking of the floors. So I have heard, and I've heard the rumors about the old janitor being there. I can't think of his name, but I bet you my dad would know. But let me tell you, it was pretty crazy to stay late and then have that creaky, eerie sound. So
yeah, most people don't believe it until they actually hear it, huh?
Mm-hmm.
That is really creepy.
That is.
From your experiences, what is your opinion on paranormal activity? How do you explain such phenomena?
Well, there are spirits of people. I don't know how to explain spirituality, but I think paranormal is something that you sense and feel, like auras. So maybe certain people don't feel that, but if you go to Gettysburg, you may get that sense with the paranormal over there.
Mm. Yeah, that'd be. Well, that's our show for today. We would like to thank our guest, Mrs. Stacy Kluken, alumni and teacher in the Armstrong School District, for being here today with us and discussing Ford City, and Mrs. Catherine Gibbon, Mr. Evan Punchard, and Mr. William Alexak for sharing their insights.
Also, thanks to today's film crew from Ford City High School, led by teacher Barb Keller, for producing this entire show from the script to the final edit. Great job, everyone.
Please join us again next week for another look at the Armstrong School District. For updated news and information on the district, please visit our website, and have a great week.